1, 2, chuffy, chuffy, 1, 2. 1, 2, chuffy, chuffy. You can hear me, I can hear you. So just crack straight on into it, eh? It's the old big face. Turn off the grave kipper. We don't need the grave kipper today, do we? I haven't done the quit you for the YouTube thing. I haven't done that. It's fine. It's going to get edited, isn't it, really? Oh, what's happening now? Oh. Hang on. Not big enough, is it? That's what it is. It's not big enough. Let's make it bigger then. Hi, you're with Scott. I'm Gadget Kids. This is Mental Health Monday. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear. This is your left ear. It's 8 PM GMT. It's always 8 PM. It's Monday. It's always Monday. It's Mental Health Monday. What we're doing today, web browsing, is we are taking a look at schemas, courtesy of the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy in Silicon Valley. Ooh, Silicon Valley, Sacramento Valley. That should be Silicon Valley. Sounds posh. It's just, it's a website. It's got all the deets. We're going to be looking at 18 different kinds of 18 different schema. Oh, look at all that. Look at the tip. Look at your 5 tier. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the tier subs. Look, you've all got your. Look, you've got your. All parcelled up there like little presents. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm trying to stay calm. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for your tippies and your chippies and your tip. Thank you. We are going to be looking at the 18 schemas that are listed, how schemas are formed, what they are, and then we probably won't get on to fixing them today, but this is all part of our cognitive behavioural therapy stuff that we're doing. We look at this. Hang on, I'll just big face for a second. A lot of the Mental Health Monday stuff that we do has got cognitive behavioural therapy underpinning it. And I don't want it to sound scary and like, oh, therapy and like, like acupuncture and woo. No, it's not. It's quite scientific. All the doctors and people like that, they're all into this sort of stuff. And it's not like you sit there for hours and tell me about how when you were like 1 year old, you got stung by a bee, and it's not about that. It's just about coming with what you feel now, writing a few things down on a few pieces of paper somewhere along the lines about how you feel, what your thoughts were, and then we sort of talk about how your feelings and thoughts come together, and then we talk about how maybe we could help you with your feelings and thoughts, because that's the deal, isn't it? That's mental health. It's mental, it's thoughts, it's feelings, it's in your heart, it's in your head. So we talk about that, and then you go away and think about things and do whatever you want. Frankly, it's up to you. But that's what it is. It's not something big and scary, and there's access to this in the UK. It's called IAPT. You talk to your GP about it. It's called IAPT. IAPT. Hang on. Keyboard. We need that. IAPT. In the UK. That's what it looks like. You'll see the leaflets. You'll see the leaflets at your doctors. It's on the internet as well. Look, they've got their, you can find it and give it a click. And what that does is it gives you access to things like cognitive behavioural therapy through the NHS. As to things like, that music's a little bit loud, isn't it? That picked up. Beautiful and relaxing it may be, but just chill. Just chill. Just chill. We're doing Mental Health Monday, talking about access to mental health services. If you really are struggling right now, you might want to be looking for the Samaritans. If I just put some like that, Samaritans. This is 116123 for free. And that's someone you can call immediately right now and just be like, oh, I don't feel so good. Can I talk? you got capital K in there. You got a capital K in there. capital K got served. Served with a subscription. If you're see, I'm being jolly there and smiling because things are happening on stream. If you're thinking, why am I being too cheerful? This is not, this is not mental health support. You need to talk to somebody right now. There's the Samaritans. That's a free phone number in the UK, and also in the USA we always whack up Lifeline. 100. It's 988 now. 988. That's the number. 988 in the US of A. We are talking, and in my headphones that music's really loud. What's going on? Turn that down. Hang on. This is a remake by Fox. I'm a bit worried that this is a remake and not the actual game music. The actual game music is simply acceptable for the copyright, but the remake music might not be. Maybe I get copyright strikes for that, and that would be unfortunate, wouldn't it? So let's just bin that off. We'll have a bit of Stardew Valley. That's it's got to be nice for your mental health on a Monday. So we look on Mental Health Monday at things like the cognitive triangle. Don't even have to spell it on Google these days. You don't have to spell it right. You can just write things that are near it. Some of the letters, Google will know. Should be using Ecosia though, shouldn't we? Naughty me. Naughty me. Thoughts, feelings and behaviours. So you know how your thoughts influence your feelings, influence your behaviours. We talk about that a lot. We bring that up. And we talk about interrupting it. We talk about how to ground yourself, don't we? We talk about meditation, but also mindfulness, counting colours, being able to pull yourself out of letting your thoughts spin away from you. We've done videos about that. We've been looking at cognitive behavioural therapy itself. It actually made me... I got my old folder out. I've got a folder. It's a folder, there's my folder. In the folder, my old papers from when I did the old CBT. And I had to look through it, and it made me think about a couple of things. One specific thing was that when I filled in this... a couple of weeks ago on Mental Health Monday, we filled in situations, feelings and thoughts. We filled in a little worksheet about how our thoughts influenced our feelings. We filled in a little thing. On mine here, there's not enough space. I've gone on to the next page. I've turned it over and I've really... It says at the top, simple thought record, simple thought record. And I've ignored the word simple and gone with thought record. But it's brought up some really interesting things. And the way I've written it here, it's quite hard to read through all the notes exactly. It's a bit confusing in ways. I'm sure I knew what I was talking about at the time. But it brought up in close focus to me the idea that it's great what we do here. It's great what we do here. We can talk about these processes. We can introduce you to the worksheets. You can do the things on your own. But that bit about talking it through with someone who really knows the score, not specifically about you, but about thoughts and ideas, that person, that CBT, you can access that through iApt. And if you can't, if you're not in the UK, you have to find... I don't know how to access all of the cognitive behavioural therapy services in all of the countries for free. But it's worth thinking about, isn't it? That it might be worth having that... hey, capital K. It's a different capital K. This is Kevlar. This is Kevlar. It is, isn't it? It's the official Kevlar. It really is. Because I know I recognise the gamer tag. It's the official Kevlar. Official Kevlar. You should have a little crown on yours. You should have a little crown. You get that if you kill people in Fortnite these days. It's nice to have you here. It's nice to have you here. So I was saying that these things really help if you've got I'm here to talk. We're here, but if you're feeling really, really seriously about this and mental health, it's really worth getting in touch with your GP and talking it through with somebody who's professional at it. You can get access to these things for free on the NHS, and that's always really good. So that's something I wanted to say at the start. And also, that led me through to what we've been doing with cognitive behavioural therapy is we've been It's officially, look, there we go, confirmed. It's get confused now. It's what we've been doing on stream is we've been introducing cognitive behavioural therapy. We're looking through some of the things, and it's probably important that I do little chunks that are the certain things that you could put the name on it, that I can edit into a video, that we can do like the Cognitive Behavioural Therapy 101 series of videos. So with that in mind, one thing that came up was schema. That's my little introduction done. Now we can get on to schema, can't we? We can get on to schema, because we look at that cognitive behavioural thought triangle. We look at thoughts, feelings, behaviours, but there's this other thing that interacts. And I just moved my web browser, browsing. If I just move my web browser, you just have to just find the web. There it is. Move it over. In this middle, they put it in the middle here, but it could be off to the side. It's just a little. It doesn't matter where they've drawn it. No, you've got a gifted sub there. I'm gonna have to not call you capital K. It's Kevlar. It's Kevlar. You've got a gifted sub. Look at that. Look at that. It's Christmas. Super K. Super S in with the K. Shame about the old skibbity. Yourself, your core beliefs, your thoughts about your future, and other people's thoughts about you, your core beliefs, this little triangle, that in the middle there. Sometimes we could call that a schema, and that's what we're going to call it, because that's what today's episode is all about. Schema activation formula. What? I've got this here on my notes, look. I've got this here on my notes. Schema activation formula. What? Sounds like some kind of Transformers thing, doesn't it? It sounds like Transformers. Schema activation formula. But it's not. It's something really straightforward that we're going to just talk through. So you've got an event on the left-hand side, and then the schema is like the prism. It's like the way the light shines through the prism and it comes out as a rainbow. You know that one. You remember that one, don't you, from school, from physics? We're not going to get too deep on physics, don't worry. The schema there is the way the light goes through. It comes out, you know, it might distort it, might it? So we've got on this list, it says, a friend doesn't telephone you on your birthday. Well, I wouldn't, because I don't remember anyone's birthdays, and I don't telephone anyone anyway either. So yeah, fine. But look, a friend doesn't telephone you on your birthday. That activates the schema. Like, the information is the friend didn't tell. Your schema's in your brain, and your schema for this one is I'm worthless, and it comes out blue. Look, blue light. It's not all the light. It's not the full spectrum. It's just this certain stream of light that. It's just this certain part of your brain is like filtered. You know, filters. It's like filtered it, and now you've filtered it into the. This other one is see violence on TV news activates the schema. I'm vulnerable. It's a different colour now. It's a different thing. It's a different thought, but it's filtered still, isn't it? It's this one thing. You suddenly go into this like narrow thought mode of this thing. It follows on, and it has the thoughts, feelings, emotions. I can see it on my paper. You can't really see it on the screen, but it's got the same triangle. It follows on the same triangle. So the schema influences our perception, our like intake of the information, and then our thought triangle goes on: thoughts, feelings, behaviors. So this is another thing that actually does affect, but it's within our own. It's within our own psyche, isn't it? The schema, our own prism, the way we sort of view the world. And I've got another picture here. This is how they do things on the internet. Look, I hold it up like that. That's how. Honestly, that's how they do things on the internet. You don't have to have Google. I can just hold it up like that. It's not in focus, but you get the idea, don't you? Look, on the one end, there's your thoughts, feelings, and your circle, your brain going on. On the other end is the information. It's going through the schema. It's going through the schema. It's going through our little. How I think about myself, how I feel about myself, what I think about the world. It's going through that. And it turns out, and this is where we get into the deep stuff now, Super Nintendo, Switch, big face, web browser. It turns out that these sort of things, not everyone. Now, for us, it's not all good, is it? It's not all swings and roundabouts, is it? For us. We know this. It's Mental Health Monday. We wouldn't be here on Mental Health Monday if my schema was like, oh, I'm brilliant. Is it? My schema's not going to be like, oh, I'm brilliant. I mean, that might be a problem. That might lead you down some dark paths some days. I don't know, because my schema is not that I am brilliant. But, if our schemas were all brilliant, then maybe it wouldn't be. So we're going to look at some of these maladaptive schemas, and what it basically reckons, when I say they, I mean the scientists, not just the scientists, the doctors, the head doctors, people. Honestly, these are studies. They've done the studies. It's not written down here. I've looked into it. They are proper studies. It was a doctor who developed these ideas. So, God, for the YouTube video, I'll find the studies. I'll put them in the links, but not right now because I'm just doing this one. This was a good website with the information. What they're basically saying is that when you're young, bad things happen, and we know about that. That's true. When you're young, sometimes bad things happen, and the early maladaptive schemas usually originate, or most often originate, out of not having core needs met. So they've got this picture of the open image in a new tab. They've got this picture of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's good. I'll look at it. Oh no, it's still tiny. So that's useless to me, isn't it? That's useless to me. Why would you show it me in tiny? I don't want it in tiny. I want it in big. Big. As big as that. Right. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a straightforward thing. At the bottom there, you've got your basic needs. You need to have food, water, otherwise you're chuffed, aren't you? Nothing's going to happen for you. You've got no food or water. You're absolutely chuffed. Next up from that, you've got security and safety. So you can drink and you can eat. And then you're like, where am I going to sleep tonight? Basic needs. You move up to psychological needs after you've met those basic needs. I've got somewhere to sleep. I'm eating. Now what we're going to do? Well, we want belongingness and love, intimate relationships, friends. We need, am I reading that right? Prestige and feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, prestige and feeling of accomplishment. They're our psychological needs. So it's really important, actually, just while we're talking about this, that a lot of people with mental health issues will say, okay, I should just stay away from people because, it's difficult. But actually, part of our set of things that we need, and also when you're young and growing up, like might come back to things that we missed out on as friends, missed out on as children, our friends and relationships and stuff like that. When you're young, you're usually not equipped with the tools to help yourself. Yeah, exactly. So if you're not, if any of these needs are not being met when you're young, you don't know it and you can't sort it out. But now that we're adults, we can look at this and say, hang on, maybe I do need to socialise a little more. The prestige and feeling of accomplishment is a difficult one because society puts on us doing well at school is prestige and accomplishment. Being good at the sports is prestige and accomplishment. That thing you're doing that you enjoy, it's not proper. you shouldn't feel good about that. That's not proper. What are you doing? Music. It's not. No one's going to succeed in music. That's rubbish. What do you like? Art. No, it's not proper. Do you work in the bank? Well done, you. Prestige. But do you? do you do what you love regardless of financial? No, you're rubbish. You know what I'm saying? There's outside forces on that as well, aren't there? Your feelings of prestige and accomplishment. But they're required for you to the next step up, self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. So having the freedom and the freedom of self-expression to say, this is who I really am, this is what I really want to do, and let's get it done. I enjoy my work, I enjoy my play, I enjoy this thing that I'm building in the back garden, this giant igloo out of it's not cold enough for ice in our country, so out of sugar I'm building an igloo out of sugar cubes. The birds keep having a go at it, but we're having a crack anyway. That's my favorite thing. Don't tell me it's not a real thing. It is a real thing. You can't tell me. I'm self-actualized. I don't mind. But if you're not self-actualized, if you're a child, these needs not being met in different ways can cause, so they say, don't have to agree with the doctors, that's fine. We can look into who wrote the studies and all that another day, but this is a sort of, a main thing in cognitive behavioral therapy. So, you don't have to start picking it apart right now. I'm talking about it. So, don't start doing it in right now. At least wait to the end. So basically they say that core emotional needs include safety, love, nurturing. This is us when we're young, and sometimes these things don't happen properly. All sorts of different things, they lead to these. So we're going to go through the 18 schemas. At the end of this, if you recognize any of these in yourself, if you start to think, hang on, maybe that sounds a little bit like the way I behave sometimes, then don't worry. That's cool. That's normal to be human. And the ongoing thing that we're going to do, the main thing that we're doing here is we're a portal to better advice. Like, I don't know all the facts, but I can show you some websites you can start your reading off here. Maybe you might want to call that GP and talk to the people about getting some, do you know what I'm saying? Because I might not be able, but we are going to try and fix things insofar as over the next few weeks, months, whatever, however long it takes, we will talk about the ways to deal with these things and to improve your life. But today's episode is just to make you feel bad, frankly. It's not to make you feel bad. If you recognise these things in yourself, then that's good. It's a great stepping off point, because it means that you're open eyes enough to be able to, deal with things and push forward in, you're starting off on a positive path. So disconnection and rejection, number one. And if I read them like I'm on a game show, then you will have to forgive me, because I am sort of presenting an episode, aren't I? Or having one. So it's just the way I read, because it's in block capitals at the top. So in my head it sounds like abandonment, instability, like the catchphrase, like on catchphrase. Abandonment or instability, but it doesn't come across like, maybe it's supposed to be more stern. Abandonment, instability. Look, let's get on with it, otherwise we'll never get on. There's 18 of these. The perceived instability or unreliability of those available for support and connection. It involves the sense that significant others will not be there to continue providing emotional support, connection, strength, or practical protection because they're emotionally unstable and unpredictable, e.g. angry outbursts, unreliable or erratically present because they will die imminently or because they will abandon the patient in favour of someone better. They say the patient, we're talking about, how we feel. It's about us. How about how we feel when we're younger and ongoing into the future. They didn't put in that, they put might die imminently. I mean, maybe have died as well. It's not somebody's fault that they're dead, is it? But it can leave you feeling this lack of connection, strength, practical. I think practical's a good word there. Real world on the ground, can't phone you up. What do we do now? And it's hard, these things, because we're not trying to point fingers at people. We're not trying to say, oh, you didn't do this when I was little. You weren't, when I tried to, you were angry. And do you remember you used to have that outburst? You weren't there. It's not about that. It's about us just recognising that we feel bad because of this. That, that statement there, someone might not have been there or been unpredictable. And you might have been afraid they might have abandoned you, or you have been abandoned. That concept of abandonment, instability, if that's something actually I felt like that when I was, I recognise that feeling. We're not saying there's something wrong with you or anything. We're saying this might play into, we're looking at our schema. We're trying to identify our schema, aren't we? Our own little prism. And if we can find out things about our own little prism, that might help the next time information's coming at us and we're reacting. That's we're only going on the broad strokes, aren't we? And we'll get into these things in more depth in the future. And of course, you would be able to, with a therapist of this professional. We can all call ourselves therapists in the UK. In the UK, there's no rule about calling yourself a therapist, so we can all call ourselves therapists. Me specifically, I am a therapist, but but in the real world, you might need some time to talk about this with someone. I'm not going to be able to do the role of the therapist, maybe, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best. Number 2, mistrust or abuse. The expectation that others will hurt, abuse, humiliate, cheat, lie, manipulate, or take advantage. That sounds really heavy, doesn't it? It sounds like cynical, not just cynical, but like the expectation. The expectation. Having said that, though, I'm sure we all kind of feel like, oh, maybe, how am I going to say this? We've all been in situations where we thought, maybe I won't walk down there because someone might rob me, or maybe, I won't tell everyone this because they'll all start laughing, or maybe I won't, maybe I won't do X, Y, Z because other people out there, whoever they may be, bad actors, bad people, the bad people are going to do bad things, and I'm not going to enjoy that. So I'm not going to go and involve myself. I'm going to stay out of that. Well, I'm sure we all felt like that at some point. Usually it involves the perception that the harm is intentional or the result of unjustified and extreme negligence. So it may include the sense that one always ends up being cheated relative to others or getting the short end of the stick. That's my only expectation with politicians. Yeah, in today's day and age, getting the short end of the stick. I mean, maybe I've got this schema. Maybe I've got this schema. It's hard for us humans to see outside our own heads, isn't it? And that's what we kind of get a little chance to do with CBT, is to try and think in those ways. We all kind of feel we're getting the short end of the stick at times, but maybe this is about a more permanent perception as well. And is intentional, or the result of extreme negligence. That people are mean, people cheat and lie. There is this idea, isn't there, that I think about this in relationship terms. If you've had relationships when you're young and you have your relationships for the first, you're like, this is wonderful, and then people cheat and they lie, and then you go, oh, everyone's a bastard. I'm not going to go out with anyone now. And then you go out with someone else, and then they cheat or lie, and then it's like, right, forget it. Like, everyone's just chuffing out to humiliate me. Like, they're all going to post it on Facebook. I don't know. I can see how I could see those feelings being dominant and just clouding the entirety. And that would lead to this feeling of there's no point, wouldn't it? I'm not saying we've got an answer to this right now. I'm not saying we have to answer this right now. But if you see that in yourself, if it is interesting. I know people who go into a situation like we'll go into the same room, like a party, and someone will say, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, and my friend would be like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. These are fun people, aren't they? Oh, they're going to go back to their house, and we're all going back there for a party. You come in. And I'd be like, absolutely not. How dare you try and, like, why are you so, like, easily manipulated? You're going to get robbed. You're going to end up in the bushes. Just robbed and in the bushes. You've just met these people. You don't know them from Adam. You don't know them. They were just, how do you trust them? You're an idiot. And there's two ends of a spectrum there, aren't there? We might not both be wrong. We might not both be right. But my friend expects things to work out well. I expect people to at least make me pay for the taxi, and then all jump out and run. I got a funny story actually. Big face funny story. Once when I was little, I say little, I wasn't old enough to be in the pub, but we'd been in the pub, and I was in Coventry with my friend Chris, and he said, oh, these girls, we're on with these girls. And I thought, well, that's strange, because I haven't spoken to them at all, but he seems to be, so, okay, this sounds good. I'll do my little, get my little coat. He's like, we're on with it, we're going to walk, go and walk now, let's go. So we left. I was quite drunk. We left, just walking across Coventry with these girls. Oh, what's your name? And I'm thinking, this doesn't seem like they like me. This doesn't seem like they like me, but Chris is convinced, so we'll go. And we got to this like really dodgy, horrible part of Coventry, and they said, thanks for walking us home, lads. See ya. And then they went, and Chris was suddenly like, oh, this is not good. I don't like being in this horrible part of town. This is dodgy. We're gonna have to walk. We'll have to walk back now. And he chose to walk us on the motorway, like ring road. Not through the dodgy part of town, but through just on the motorway ring. It was a dodgy situation. The whole thing. Mistrust and abuse, mistrust. I went into that situation naive, didn't I? Naive. Or, I don't know, maybe just in a normal, not expecting hurt, abuse and humiliation, but, tables turned, didn't they? We got away with it though. No hurt and abuse. There was a little bit of humiliation. I felt a little bit of humiliation, but there was no hurt and no. But see what we're saying. If you're expecting this mistrust, if you're expecting the bad in people, that clouds your vision of life. That's something we can work on in the future. Number 3, emotional deprivation. Emotional deprivation. That sounds really harsh, and it is, isn't it? So the expectation that one's desire for a normal degree of emotional support will not be met by others. That's the expectation, like you just believe in yourself. You just know that you're not going to get the help, the emotional support from other people. Other people aren't going to make you feel any better. And that would lead to you not wanting to talk to other people about how you feel, wouldn't it? Because they're not going to help. The 3 major forms are deprivation of nurturance, absence of attention, affection, warmth or companionship. Deprivation of empathy, absence of understanding. You don't understand me. listening. You're not hearing what I'm saying. You're not even listening to me. Self-disclosure. You never tell me about yourself. It's always me talking about me. Or mutual sharing of feelings from others. C, deprivation of protection, absence of strength, direction or guidance from others. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there, but I think a lot of people who grow up in today's normal society might grow up without some of these aspects in the parenting, simply by nature of things like divorce. So, like, it says deprivation, that's a real heavy word. But if you recognise any of the feelings that no one is going to protect you, no one's out to help you, guide you, there's no one in your life that listens or would, have those deep conversations with you. If you feel like no one cares, that's not just a normal fit. I mean, that is, I'll tell you what's interesting about this as well. That's an interest, that's normal for depression, isn't it? Like, that's just totally normal. All those things are like tick, 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 depression. That's how I feel normal day to day. Like, surprise, surprise, it's emotional deprivation. It may or may not be because of something that happened when maybe your parents or whatever. I'm not here to point fingers. What I'm saying is, if you recognise those feelings, then people just say, I'm just depressed. I just drink less or more, depending on which way. Probably drink less. But, you just say, that's just depression. It's an umbrella term, depression, for loads of different feelings and thoughts, loads of different parts of a spectrum, and it's just umbrella termed, isn't it? Umbrella termed. But here we're able to sort of put a little bit more of a pin in some of the specifics there. That's quite interesting. And again, we're not going to try and fix them right now. We're just going to try and see if we think they're part of our schema. See if we can identify our own schema. Because no one else is going to help us. Obviously, I'm here helping, so don't think that no one else is going to help. That's not this. The people around were looking at you guys like you were chuffers. Is that when we were walking in Coventry? I bet, yeah. Defectiveness or shame. Defectiveness. They sound better if they're done by the game show host. Welcome to chapter 4. Defectiveness or shame. The feeling that one is defective. That's so robotic, isn't it? It's so. Is that because it's been written by the cognitive behavioural therapy Silicon Valley? Look, we're Silicon Valley experts, so they've used the phrase defective. But you're not good enough. That's the phrase. You're not good enough. Bad, unwanted, inferior, or invalid in important respects, or that one would be unlovable to significant others if exposed. This may involve hypersensitivity to criticism, rejection and blame, self-consciousness, comparisons, and insecurity around others, or a sense of shame regarding one's perceived flaws. So what they're saying there is that defectiveness and shame is the underlying thing, but it might play itself out in angry fights when people say that, I don't like the way you did that, could you do that differently? Did you just leave me alone, I'm doing it. That sort of thing. Criticism. You don't like people telling you. Who likes no one likes criticism, do they? I've even heard there's people out there that like they take the criticism and they use it and make themselves better, and it's constructive criticism, and like, I don't know, maybe if you work in a workplace and you're all sitting around the table and it's your turn to be told how bad you are, I still wouldn't. I'm still not gonna. There's still no part of me that's gonna be like, this is good, let's have a bit of criticism. No. But hypersensitivity, reacting badly to it. Rejection, again, I'm not sure there's many of us who enjoy a good old bit of rejection. Serve me up a big slice of rejection pie. See me smile. Can I have ice cream with that? No, you can't. See, there you go. Enjoy it even more without the ice cream that you wanted. And blame. Sorry, I've got to stop doing jokes. Self-consciousness, comparisons, and insecurity. We've all got that as well. We've all got that these days. But yeah, a public physical appearance, social awkwardness, selfish and angry impulses, unacceptable sexual desires, or depending on, if they're not, as long as they're on the, as long as you can find it on the internet, I'm sure it's all right. Social awkwardness, that's one that I'm sure we can all understand social awkwardness, can't we? So, but it's interesting, isn't it? I'm saying we can all understand it. Maybe the people who don't understand it aren't here listening to Mental Health Monday, are they? They're off there riding their surfboards in the sky with their great big flowing hair, and they've got their bank accounts full of crypto, and they've got a dolphin towing them along, and then, oh, is that my island? Oh, that's my island. Let's stop for a coconut milkshake. You know, those sort of people. They're all right. All the rest of us, if you've ever ridden the bus, you know what I'm talking about. All the rest of us, right? But it turns out that defectiveness and shame is not a standard feeling that we all have to normally feel. It's part of a schema that we've developed through whatever reason. We're not here to go back and say, oh, when I was a kid, I was left on a raft without water. I'm not there to point the finger at the, I'm here to say, if you feel like that, it's part of a schema that we can start to deal with and maybe improve and fix. You're not defective. Why would I say fix? Because you're defective. Move on. Right, number 5, social isolation. So alienation. That's a good one, isn't it? Because you forced that on us, didn't they, with the old lockdown? But, I was still... For a year beforehand, I wasn't going out because just people, they're dirty, aren't they? The feeling that one is isolated from the rest of the world, different from other people, and not part of any group or community. That with the pleasant backing sounds of Stardew Valley. Social isolation. The feeling that one is isolated from the rest of the world. Most of us have felt like that at some point or other, surely. Because we're all trapped in these little thought boxes, aren't we? We've all got our own concrete noggin, and outside there's everyone and everything else, isn't there? When they say I'll just do the big face, when they say like it could be a simulation, you watch enough YouTube, if you've seen enough Elon Musk on YouTube, if you've watched enough Joe Rogan on YouTube, if you've watched YouTube, it might be a simulation, mightn't it? Everything might, well, if it was, then if I drank this drink, it would short the circuits. No, not like that, you fool. You're not a robot. I could be. You don't know. Right, that's the gist. That's the gist. Well, in that simulation, you're player one, aren't you? You're the main one. Everything else is going on. Everyone else is an NPC. You're right. The only thing you can be sure of, yeah, I've got my brain. I'm in my head. I'm sure, because when I close my eyes, it's all still going on in my head. Definitely that. That's the only thing you can be sure of. So it is easy to feel isolated because just naturally the way we're biologically built is in these little thought boxes, and then you have all these thoughts and feelings, and you've got to try and share them. You've got to try and express yourself in order for people to understand them. That's that's where we get from banging on rocks in the caves with the petroglyphs. That's where we go from there to here. A lot of that goes on, a lot of thinking and talking. Well, not talking originally, it would be like, wouldn't it? Just, not dissing cavemen or Neanderthals or anything, but I mean, maybe they had complex language. Maybe it's not. Maybe they had complex language. I like to think of them speaking in West Midlands accents if they did. If they did in all of the Neanderthals and cavemen in West Midlands accents. What are you working on? Well, thinking of calling it the wheel. What's the wheel going to be good for? Don't really know. I'm sure there'll be some use for it. I'm just going to leave it over here on top of this hill. Oh, it's gone. Watch me wheel. What's a wheel? I don't know. Hard to explain, really. We haven't developed complex systems of language. I'd say it was a circle, but that would presuppose you knowing what a circle was, wouldn't it? What do you mean, what's it presuppose? We're never going to get anywhere with this. So, back to the web browsing. Social isolation is normal. It's normal. You're the side characters in your own game. It's normal. But we overcome it by actively trying, don't we? We have to actively talk to people. We have to turn up at the birthday party, and we have to put a smile on our face and, buy a round of drinks. Well, not drinks, because we're against, again, we're off the old. We can buy a round of coconut lattes. So, but you know what I'm saying? That social isolation, that can happen naturally because the world is full of different people, and you're not uniquely, explicitly part of any group or community just because you're born. Just because you're from the West Midlands doesn't mean you're part of the community of the West Midlands. You've got to go and involve yourself. You've got to go and become part of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's inbuilt, but yet it can be part of our prism that the information comes in, and then I'm thinking, well, it's not them, it's me against them, it's me, different, filters through. It's just something to, just if you recognise that, if you're used to thinking, look, I'm not like them others. If you're used to thinking, helps if they have a dog. So there you go, dog community. We all like dogging. It helps if but it is. That's on the prism then, that's on the list. It's on the list, so you're just going to have to accept it. Let's move on. Impaired autonomy and performance. This is like a new round now. It's the impaired autonomy round. In this round, we're going to impair your autonomy. They do that in different game shows though, actually, don't they? They blindfold people and stuff like that. So, number 6, dependence, incompetence. A belief that one is unable to handle one's everyday responsibilities in a competent manner. That sounds like me. Well, I'm not going to suggest it's you. I'm not going to tell you it's you. If you think it sounds like you, you can go, oh, it sounds like me, just like I did. But only if you do. The belief that you're unable to handle one's everyday responsibilities in a competent manner. That's just the normal things, like, did you set off the dishwasher without putting a tablet in it? Did you open the door of the washing machine when it was still going? Did you remember to fill up the petrol in the car? Could you just take the bins out, and did you forget, and is it now midnight and you've got to do it really quietly while everyone's sleeping and try not to wake the neighbours? Those sort of things. Without considerable help from others. And then it's got a list of, like, take care of yourself, solve daily problems, exercise good judgment. But this often presents as helplessness, it says. This is big and important as well, though. You're being attacked now. Not attacked. You're not attacked. We're all in this together. That's interesting, isn't it? Social isolation and alienation. And we're all in that together. We're all alienated together. Hooray! At least we've got that. We'll always have Paris. So, dependence and incompetence often presents as helplessness. But there's so much stuff these days, isn't there? Like bank accounts, tax returns. I have to have help with all that stuff. And I'm quite willing to admit that. I don't know if this is developed from some sort of, childhood issue with not doing my own tax return. I didn't have a tax return when I was a kid, so maybe, okay, in order to improve children's mental health, we should start making them do tax returns. If you recognise the fact that you find it difficult to take care of yourself and solve your daily problems and do all these normal things that other people seem to have, on the pinboard on the fridge, that's cool, that's okay. It's part of our 18 different schemas that can all play into our misinterpretation of the facts. And then we're going to get into that, and we're going to polish up that schema. Oh, we're going to take these things and we're going to learn how to deal with these strands of schema in a future episode, coming soon. $3.99 a month. No, for free on the internet. It's all out there. We're going to do it. Or you can always call the GP. I've been looking at this thing on the internet, and I just feel like I've got something I'd like to talk about with the IAPT cognitive behavioural therapy people. Please put me on the list. No, but I absolutely. Also, have you considered using one of these modern phones instead of your fingers? They're much better. Flat screen. These days, because that was a phone, isn't it? Look, hang on. That's a phone, isn't it? That's a phone. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. That's a phone. Finger and a thumb. That's a phone. But my phone doesn't look like that, does it? Not these days. I don't even know where it is. You never know where it is either these days. You never know where it is. That's normal. My phone looks like that. Doesn't it? It looks like a flat panel. So really, these days, I'll call you. Shouldn't be doing that with that. No one knows what that is anymore. No one's got one of those. Have they? No one's got one of those. What you should be doing is that. I'll call you. I'll call you. Just like that with your flat hand. I'll call you. You could do that. You could pretend you're holding a phone that's flat like that. I'll call you. Just like that. Just with your flat hand. See, I'm right. It's confirmed in chat. I'm right. So flat. These days, no one. What's a 12-year-old going to do with that? What are you doing? What's that? What's that the symbol for? It's not the symbol for a phone, I'll tell you that. That's a phone. International. Maybe the Red Indians all had phones. Maybe the cowboy... How? I don't know how. I don't know how they're made. It's like a computer in there. It's magic. Web of a browser. If you're feeling particularly vulnerable today and you've just tuned into Mental Health Monday, I would remind you that I'm a cheeky chuffer, and you can always call the Samaritans if you are actually seriously thinking this cheeky chuffing's going nowhere. I'm on the edge. Impaired autonomy and performance round. So dependence, incompetence, the idea that you can't do things for yourself and that you need someone to help you with all the basics, some of the basics, whatever. It's normal, it's human, but it's something that might colour our feelings and thinking. And this is a good example. I should be giving examples, but this is a good one to example. You know, I've got a thing where I need to get my bank account moved from one bank account to the other because of the card. You see, I'm even doing it now. I'm in my brain. I'm saying I don't know what kind of card it is. I know it's a debit card. I shouldn't have to pretend to do it. Whatever. Got these things to do with the bank. The bank want me to do it. Fine. It's not a big deal, is it? It's not a big deal. The bank want you to. Fine. But in my brain, I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that goes on the back burner. Oh, it's another one of those bank letters about the card thing again. Oh, just leave that over there. I don't need to use a card. I'll be like everyone else that doesn't use the card. I'll just draw my money out and keep it in my sock, you know? Like, I should get onto that, shouldn't I? But I feel like I can't, because I feel like it's one of those things that I'm not very good at. So that's the thing, that when the idea came in, you need to fix this bank account, my brain prism, my schema said, no, you don't. It's not one of those things you can't do, remember? Bang, it goes into the inbox, overflowing inbox that you're not going to deal with tray. That tray goes into that tray. You know, the bin goes in there. The bin tray, shred it. Make sure no one can even read it. Make sure no one can read that. You know, like there's going to be people digging through my bin to read my letters. The bank's like, we'd quite like you to move your account. They'd quite like him to move his account. They'd quite like to give him a debit card he hasn't accepted. Quick, get on that. What do you mean get on that? What are you going to do? Solve my problems for me? Thanks. In fact, I should leave them all outside unshredded, shouldn't I? So the thieves can solve my problems. No, it's one of these things. It's... Can I come and be a guest? You absolutely can. We can do a sit down. Yes. Yes is the answer to that. Yes. But it might not be live on Mental Health Monday the way we're doing it now, because as you can see, I like to get things out of hand a little bit. And I think we should do a recording session and practice with all of it and edit it and make it look good and polished, and then put it out there. Yes, that's the answer. Questions answered. I'll have questions for you and you can answer them as well. And then, you know, before you know it, it'll be a full conversation. Number 7, vulnerability. I've got to get through 18 of these, remember? And then I can stop messing about. Vulnerability to harm or illness. This is a big one. We've just had a world catastrophe, pandemic. Exaggerated fear that imminent catastrophe will strike at any time and that one will be unable to prevent it. Fear focus on more of the following. A medical catastrophe. So your fears focus on one of these. You might have a heart attack. You might have AIDS. That's just 2. They just put 2. There's a lot more medical things. I'm not going to start listing them. not gonna. People that watch Mental Health Monday don't want me to list all the things you could worry about, so I'm not going to. But you know what you worry about. Emotional catastrophes. I'm losing my mind. I'm gonna go around there with the pickaxe handle and start smashing the windows. I'm laughing, but that's not a good thing. So I'm gonna stop listing the things that you worry you might do. Obviously I haven't. There's no broken windows, so we're good. Number C, external catastrophes. The elevator will collapse. They're going to break into my house. The plane will crash. The earth will quake. Medical and external have been factored into one in a way recently, haven't they? Pandemic, the world's gone mad. It's all vulnerability to harm or illness. It's hard to judge that one when we've just had a global pandemic, isn't it? But if you walk around worried about the world collapsing in, about the cars crashing into you and your heart stopping, if you walk around worried about that, that's something that can affect the way you feel and think about information and ideas coming in. You know, do you want to come for a run? Well, not really. My heart's going to stop. Do you want to come for dinner in the nice restaurant in where you live in in America. Do you want to come for a nice meal in the restaurant? No, it's on the fault line, and the earth will open up and it will swallow us instead of me swallowing my starter. So I'm not coming. If I am coming, I want to sit on that side of the restaurant, right over there. Right on that side. Because in an earthquake, it's never the corner that goes, is it? It's always the middle bit. And then everything all the tables and all the guests slide in. I suppose if you're at the one corner, you might be quite high up at this point. That might not be good either. But it's the middle, isn't it? It's always the middle. So I want to go on the edges for that. But if you are worried about these things on a day-to-day, that is normal. Again, probably never sit with your back to the door. Never sit with your back to the door. I have to do it here for this. Never sit. When you sleep, it's all right, isn't it? Because you've got that barricaded up. But, and, I've got that weapon under my pillow, haven't I? If you're worried about these things on the day-to-day, it might be normal. It might be a normal sort of thing, in a way, because of the way the world is. But also, it might lead to this schema influencing the way you think and feel. So it's worth putting on the tick list of, should I be trying to polish this up? Maybe. Number 8, enmeshment. God, they like the words, don't they? They like the words. In psychology, they like the words, don't they? They like the words. Enmeshment. What kind of a word is that? You know what mesh is. You've heard of mesh. I've heard of it. We all know what mesh is. It's hard to explain, though. It's like a crisscross of stuff. Like a net, really, isn't it? It's not a net, it's a mesh. All right, fine. What else does it need to... It needs to have more layers. Fine. Now we've got layers of net. Layers of net. Enmeshment. Getting caught up in layers of net. Undeveloped self. Excessive emotional involvement and closeness with one or more significant... enmeshment. Enmeshment. What they mean is that you are not yourself alone. At the expense of full individual... I knew it was going to do this. I knew at some point it was going to do this. At the expense of full individuation. What is that? Individuation. At the expense of you being yourself on your own. Individuation. Individuation. Codependent. Look, you're doing it now in chat, you. Now you're doing it. Codependence. Living with... Living with... This often involves the belief that at least one of the... See, they're normal words that you get. Often involves the belief that at least one of the enmeshed individuals cannot survive or be happy without the constant support of the other. If you're not here, I'm not happy. If I don't know where you are, I can't do my thing. If you're not here, I'm not happy. And that's weird, because that's like almost a romantic ideal, isn't it? Of like, people are like, this super love that we have, and always know where each other is, and we're like two halves of the same whole. Well, that's a problem. The concept that you need that to be yourself, that you need that other, they're listing it here as a schema, a maladaptive schema. I didn't know that. I thought it was like, because all the songs, remember all the songs? You've heard the songs, haven't you? You know the songs. Ooh, I love you so. Ooh, please don't go. Yo-ho. Like, all the songs. I ran out of lyrics there. I'm not skibbity. God, don't push me. Look, you know the songs. It's all about that, isn't it? It's all about how important the other person is, and I can't live if living is without you. All of the songs. So, but it turns out it's a maladaptive schema. It may also include feelings of being smothered by or fused with others, or insufficient individual identity. I think as well, even on a smaller scale, you go into relationships and they're like, oh, could you stop doing that thing that I don't like that you do? And you're like, absolutely, I won't do that anymore. And that's my thing that I like that I do. Hang on, I'm not doing that anymore. Why am I doing that anymore? It all gets confusing. Not being yourself without other people. But earlier on we said you need other people. It's not the same. This is like the fly, isn't it? It's like you've gone in that pod. Before you didn't know, remember before when you didn't know the person? This goes back to what we were doing on relationships as well. Do you remember before when you didn't know the person? Remember before that, and you didn't need them to go for a poo in the morning, did you? You just went on, it just happened. And now they've gone. Now you've enmeshed. You've gone through You've gone through the pod with the fly by mistake. Well, no, deliberately. You dragged them in there. Stay with me. Gone through the pod. I'm enmeshed. In the fly, they can't remove the fly bit, so it's a really bad analogy, actually. But in our analogy, they are now removed, and you feel like you can't go on. That's weird, isn't it? Because before, you didn't even know them. And then you're all right. But now they're removed. You feel like you can't go on. Enmeshed or undeveloped self. And I guess part of this is pushing you out there and being yourself, isn't it? If it's about undeveloped self, part of it's about, that's important as well, how your identity and feelings about yourself. And again, Mental Health Monday, of course, it's going to be an issue, isn't it? So if that's part of the prism, often experienced as a feeling of emptiness and floundering, having no direction, or in extreme cases, questioning one's existence. That can be the knock-on effect. So if you don't have enough individual identity, because you become enmeshed, these are like step stages now. The enmeshment's one problem. That's one thing. That's an issue. But not having enough identity, because of the enmeshment, because you give up so much of yourself to this third thing, the enmeshment process, because I'm not going to, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do those things that, but they're in you. Well, now who are you? Who are you? I don't know. They've got it. I'm on my own, and I don't know what I'm even supposed to be doing. I was only doing it for them, and now they've gone. There's no point. We're going to find what's important to you, aren't we? That's the key in this. We will get there. It is quite normal in human existence to question your existence, to not know why you're here. Because I don't want to say this, I don't want to blow the cover, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but nobody really chuffing well knows, do they? The main thing is to just stop and smell the roses, have a bit of a good time, stop being such a chuffer, tidy up after yourself. I think have I just nailed the meaning of life there? Probably not, but we can discuss. Failure. It's not an option, number 9 there, so I don't know why they've listed it. Apparently it is. The belief that one has failed, will inevitably fail, or is fundamentally inadequate relative to one's peers. It's a bit like some of the others. In achievement, school, career, sports, it often involves beliefs that one is stupid, inept, untalented, ignorant, lower in status, less successful than others. This is a really interesting one, right? Big face. Many people have talked about this concept. I'm sure you've recognised this concept of I'm not good enough, I'm a failure. Why should I even try? Everyone's better. Everyone's better at this thing. Why even get? I know we get that. I'm not the first person to unpack that. But check this out as a thought, right? Whatever it is you want to be good at, if you start judging it against other people, and society does, bear in mind, top 10 top pops, top of the 10 top pops, top 10 biggest, top 10 fastest. Who's run the fastest? Top 10, under 10 seconds, top 10 fastest. Everyone's judged against all these things, aren't they? But if you start doing that, right, let's just take top fastest. Simple concept, isn't it? Just top fastest. Well, we know that Usain Bolt's the top fastest. Now, he's the top fastest. Everyone else that tries running fast, they're not happy. They failed because they're not the fastest. I wanted to be the fastest. I'm nowhere near. Look at him, he's right, he's gone up, he's 10 seconds gone. Everyone else. In Fortnite, this is a good one, top tip for the kids, isn't it? For the kids, keeping up with the kids. In Fortnite, right, 99 players drop in, 100 players drop, it's 100, you idiot. 99 players and me, alright, and me. The others are players, I'm me, I'm the one. The others are just players. 99 players drop in, 100 players drop in, and throughout the process, everyone gets killed apart from the winner. Well, how many people feel great at the end of that? 1, the winner. How many people think, oh, chuff it, you just shot me then, oh, I could have got that if I was just 99. There's a balanced tip. 99 people. It's normal in life to feel that we failed because every single system of grading, of, you know what I mean? Every single system of putting things into rank order, of achievement, whatever, against other people, there can only be like a top, let's even 1%. Let's just say even 1%. Like, imagine how many bajillion people, the rest of us, the 99%, the rest of us, we all feel like we're not the 1%. All of us. We have to feel that. So as long as we're connecting our feelings of achievement, of success, of whether we're good enough, of whether we failed. I remember at school, everyone remembers at school, don't they? You come home with your test and your parents say, why didn't you get this one right? Or what did you do wrong there? Or did so-and-so get more than you? Or what have you? Maybe not everyone's parents. I don't know. Do you know what I mean, though? We've all had these situations where we've not done that well and we've graded it against other people. Well, it turns out that that's natural human. Natural human to do it. Natural human to believe it. Natural human to see it as a failure. And then to feel and internalise those problems. That's natural normal. It's also what we're calling them? Schema. A maladaptive schema. Something we can work on in the way we think, so that when the information comes in the system, I mean, I don't know. This permeates so widely, doesn't it? This negative. If you can't be different, if you can't be in a different room than them without negative feelings, that's the bad side. That is for the codefendants. Yeah. Codefendants. I just thought codefendants as well as codependence. I could have said a joke off that. Too late. Look, the failure thing. If that gets in your head about should any event occur, through my brain, I'm not good at this. I'm not going to win. I'm the failings. What I then see, the colour of my light that I see that illuminates the world. It's going to be different, isn't it? We've got to be able to wipe that off, get rid of that in some way. We'll come to it in a future episode. How to fix these things. I hope. Better had, hadn't I? Otherwise, just leave you hanging. But no, these terrible choice of words on Mental Health Monday. Impaired limits. Now my headphones are broken. Look again. I know you sent me the money to get new headphones, and I know I'm supposed to buy them, but as long as I can keep just clipping that back on there every time, that's fine. Impaired limits. Entitlement. Oh, these are the good ones. These are the good ones. These are the ones you have when life is good. Entitlement, grandiosity. The belief that one is superior to other people. I'm looking at Donald Trump's kids there. No, I'm looking at me. Because I'm the good one. I'm the special one. The belief that one is superior to other people, Putin, entitled to special rights and privileges, or not bound by the rules of reciprocity. That was, do you remember when we did that one about, what's his name, the tennis player, who said he had elite status, he said he had elite privilege, he had special privilege as an elite sportsman. The tennis player, Novak Djokovic, he thought he had special rights and privileges, or not bound by the rules of reciprocity. I think that one. I know that reciprocal is like giving back. So rules of giving back that guide normal social interaction is like if someone says, "Oh, how are you having a nice day?" and you say yes, and just move on because you don't have to ask them if they're having a nice day because the normal rules that guide social interaction don't worry you. Often involves insistence one should be able to do or have whatever one wants, regardless of what's realistic, what others consider reasonable, or the cost to others. Or an exaggerate, that's like spoiling, we call that, don't we, with children, but the idea that you should have whatever you want, regardless of how much it costs, or the cost to others is interesting, isn't it? Or an exaggerated focus on superiority, e.g. being amongst the most successful, famous, wealthy. That's a really interesting one as well, because it's hard to... in today's world, I think it's more obvious where the chips fall, isn't it? But there are a lot of people who pretend they're more wealthy than they are, or more successful. I'm talking about social media, of course, and I'm talking about, images and Instagrams, but really, we all... being among the most successful, famous, or wealthy, I think we all kind of know that we're kind of normal people, aren't we? Otherwise I'd be on, I suppose you've got Britain's Got Talent, you get people going on that, don't you, who don't, they're like, oh, I think I'm brilliant, have you heard me singing? And then you think, you're not that brilliant, are you? What are you doing? And I guess it goes on. I don't know, but it's a bit more clear where you stand these days, isn't it? Because of that, in the same way social media can be used to fake things, also it's a bit more real in other ways, isn't it? Like, you can really see a lot more of the world, and like, I know that I don't have a yacht, for example. Pretty sure about that. In order to achieve power or control, not primarily for attention or approval. So an exaggerated focus on superiority to achieve power or control. That could be a... This is all adding up to a bit of a, a person you don't really want to hang around with, isn't it? Someone who considers they're really important and they should have what they want all the time, and they need to achieve some sort of power or control, not just for attention or approval, but for the sake of the power and the control. Sometimes includes excessive competitiveness toward or domination of others, asserting one's power, forcing one's point of view, or controlling the behaviour of others in line with one's own desires. And like I said, this is about us, remember? So we've got to remember that we can all be like this, can't we? I'm sure I have been a bit of a sport child in my time, but I'm sure we can all sort of say, oh, I want to do this now. I think we should all go here. I think we should all go here. That even though not everyone might want to, I think we should all... Those sort of things. I think we've all got a bit of that in ourselves sometimes, haven't we? Maybe because, when you think you're right about something, or when maybe people don't, I don't know, forcing one's point of view, when people don't see it your way. I'm sure we can all be a bit insistent that maybe they should at some times. So, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's more than that. I see a co-worker driving up in a flash car and I'm thinking about how I know how much they make. That's true. These days you can get the flash cars and the things, can't you? You can get the outward symbols of wealth and status, but people around you still know the truth, don't they? Like, it's interesting. You can hire those cars these days, can't you? I suppose it works on some aspects. When they're driving down the street, the people that don't know them don't know who they are, so they just think, oh, I must do my tax returns. Number 11, insufficient self-control, self-discipline. Have we done number 10, yeah? Entitlement, grandiosity. I think we have, haven't we? Pomposity and stuff. We've all got a bit of it sometimes, because we're all the number one player in our lives and we are all important. But it's about not letting that spill over. And if you recognise that you yourself maybe sometimes... And I'm not trying to have a go at anyone. I'm saying it's normal to be human. But if you sometimes do what others consider, maybe other people might point this out to you, that they think you're being unreasonable. Maybe that's the thing to just wonder about. And it could be part of our schema. It's not mine. It's not mine. I'm too good. I'm too important to have a bad schema like that. Besides, everyone just does what I say anyway. I've trained them that way. Number 11, insufficient self-control or self-discipline. Ooh. Might have to skip over this one if it means I'm not allowed to do what I want anytime I want all the time. We are marketed to deserve. We think, yes, that's absolutely true. We are told these days that we are the most important person and that we deserve everything at all times. Yes, that is true. And I'm not here to say you're not. I'm not here to say you're not. But I'm also here to say, like, it can get a bit out of hand, Just chill out. We've all been there, haven't we? We've all been there. Pushing everyone out the way at the Big Mac stand. Get out of the way. I want my Big Mac first. Who are you? Just get off me. It's my turn at the Big Mac stand. I'll have a Big Mac, please. They're all sold out. I demand a Big Mac. My turn at the Big Mac stand. I'm vegan, so I'm having a vegan one, please. I told you they're all sold out. Not coming back here. I'm not coming back here. Rubbish. I'll have a straw. I'll have a straw on my way out. That's mine. You can't take that off me now. That's mine. I've put it in my mouth. What, do you want it back now? Just have the paper off the end. See how you enjoy that. Run. Run. I've just blown the paper. I've blown the paper off the end of the straw. Run. Run. They're coming. They're not coming. They're not allowed out of the restaurant. Not off the property lines in the uniforms. They can't chase you. Anyway, look. Pervasive difficulty or refusal to exercise sufficient self-control and frustration tolerance to achieve one's personal goals or to restrain the excessive expression of one's emotions and impulses. They love the fuffing words, don't they? They love the words. In its milder form, patient presents with an exaggerated emphasis on discomfort avoidance, avoiding pain, conflict, confrontation, responsibility, or overexertion at the expense of personal fulfillment, commitment, or integrity. This could be you don't end up doing what you want in life because it's just too much of a hassle. This could come under the brackets of like obesity, couldn't it? But it's also drinking too much or what have you. You know, other things that help you avoid the pain. It's also not confrontation. It's also not dealing with things. Confrontation. It's not dealing with things head on. Not taking responsibility for things. Just letting things go. Just let things go. And if you're just letting things go, you might as well let yourself go. And I think the people that suffer with this the most, insufficient self-control and self-discipline, I mean, they can quite often be well-presented people, can't they? They can be nicely turned out. But by the end of the evening, the excessive expressions of one's emotions and impulses may, by the end of the, you know, what I'm saying is by the end of the long term, it might lead to, they're saying at the expense of personal fulfillment, you know, they're not living their best lives. We just say that. We'll just say that. We're down to number 12 of 18. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We're going to have to get there. I better crack on. Subjugation. These are other directedness now. Subjugation. Excessive surrendering of control to others because one feels coerced, usually to avoid anger, retaliation, or abandonment. The two major forms of subjugation are subjugation of needs, suppression of one's preferences. It doesn't matter what I want, we'll do what you want. Subjugation of emotions, suppression of emotional expression, especially anger. I'm not going to let this out. I'm not going to tell them how I feel. I'm just going to hold that in, especially when I'm angry. I'm not going to let people, I'm not going to say it. I'm not allowed to say it, maybe. Just subjugated. Keep that under. Other people are more important. That might be because they've bullied it into you, or it might be because you feel that you're not worth it. It's quite human at times to feel this, but it's okay. Hello, first time chat. I can't help it. I'm just going to have to pop this into the old Google. It's Korean, isn't it? I know it's Korean before I pop it in there. Pretty sure it's Korean. Korean, is it? Korean? And text. Oh, good. I did think, as I was translating that was going to come out as something bad, and it did, and it's quite funny in a way. It's just some racism, but it's racism against, I think, white people, meaning like me. But more fool you, because I'm like an eighth Asian, so I also hate white people. I don't get me kicked off the internet for being racist. Please don't get me kicked off the internet for being racist. I don't know how to remove that, so we'll just... Should I add them as a friend? They're my options there. I don't want to add them as a friend. It's the opposite of that. It's the opposite of that. So, the automatic... Hello! The automatic first time chat from you. The automatic... well, should I buy them as... No! I don't know, maybe we can help them. They're in a bad mood, obviously. They're in a bad mood. They've called me a fool, an idiot, or generally they've called white people fools, idiots, mutts, sea anemones, sea cucumbers, and old men. Some of us are old men. We think we're special because we're white. It's not because I'm white that I think I'm special. That's not why I think I'm special. I've got other reasons I'm special. I've got other reasons. They're part of my schema. We'll get back to it. If we could remove the Korean, like, why won't the internet let me remove my, moderate my own chat? Come on, the internet. Should we just block? If we press block, I don't want to block anyone really. That feels harsh, Feels harsh. Well, mind you, what they said was bad, so let's block that. close that. It's still there though. It's still there. There's still racism in Korean on the screen. So if you can't fix it, Twitch, don't kick me off Twitch because I'm not doing the guidelines. You're doing the guidelines. You've let it happen, Twitch. You've let it happen. So, I mean, what am I supposed to do about that? You've let it happen. It's all in context, so it'll be okay. There's a context surrounding it. Good old internet, isn't it? Welcome to the internet, where people just say what they like. Is that North Korean, do you think? North Korean trolling? Do you think it's North Korean? The only person who's allowed on the internet in North Korea is Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-un, whichever one it is. You know, no one else is allowed on. There's only one Facebook account in the whole country, isn't it? Our great leader likes like a bajillion, even though no one else is allowed an account. How did that happen? So anyway, if you're feeling bad, if you're in Korea and you're feeling bad, let's find out how to say things to them. Translate from English. It's a little departure. I'm going to waste our time on this now to Korean, English to Korean. So if I delete this. Hello. 안녕하세요. Why is it such a long word? 안녕하세요. 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 Like, why would it be so? It's hello. Hi. Hi. Just hi. I want to do short. 안녕. It's still quite long. Oh, I know the words to red light, green light, don't I? From, we'll just put this red light, green light words from I know the not that from the old Squid Game. The old Squid Game. It's 먹은과 겹피에도 씁니다. 먹은과 겹피에도 씁니다. So that'll make them feel at home, won't it? That'll make them feel at home. Bit of the old Squid Game. Because that was traditional from Korean, so traditional Squid Game, traditional subjugation. It turns out that you might have an issue with subjugation if you give up your own preferences to other people all the time. You always let them have their way, and you keep it in. You subjugate that. You're not only subjugated, but you subjugate your feelings. You keep them in. You're not telling people this. You're not letting it out there that they rile you up. And you just have to keep it in, because otherwise it causes problems in the family, and then it's your fault, and that sort of stuff. It usually involves the perceptions that one's own desires and opinions are not valid or important. There's no point in telling people what you think, because it's rubbish anyway. Combined with hypersensitivity to feeling trapped, it generally leads to a build-up. And we might all recognise this of people with uncontrolled outbursts of temper. Psychosomatic symptoms, that means mental disturbances based on this thing building up in your brain that you're not letting out, withdrawal of affection, acting out, or substance abuse. If you feel like that's part of your own makeup, that's cool, that's normal, it's human to feel these things. We're learning about them so that we can help to improve on them. That's the main thing. Talking to you, Korea. Self-sacrifice. It excessively focuses on voluntarily meeting the needs of others in daily situations at the expense of one's own gratification. The most common reasons are to prevent causing pain to others, to avoid guilt from feeling selfish, to maintain the connection with others perceived as needy. It often results as an acute sensitivity to the pain of others, sometimes leads to a sense that one's own needs are not being adequately met, and to the resentment of those who are taken care of. Overlaps with the concept of codependency. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner in chat. We have a winner in chat. You put codependency in chat earlier, didn't you? So, I don't know what you win. I mean, pick yourself a prize. You're the one going to have to go out and get it. But you did win, because you said codependency earlier, and now it's come up in the thing, so... it's interesting because it's similar to the subjugation one as well, isn't it? But this idea that you focus on doing things for others in daily situations, and you put yourself out to the point where you feel like you're not actually getting what you need out of life, and you kind of end up, and this is a harsh one because you're doing this for other people, but you end up feeling angry at the other people. You know, you're chuffing chuffers. You're chuffers. Do you know what I mean? You're feeling like angry at the other people sometimes. That is really interesting. Self-sacrifice is supposed to be a good thing, isn't it? Self-sacrifice is supposed to be held up there. You know Jesus. You've heard of Jesus. Have you ever heard of Jesus? I don't know if you've heard of this fella called Jesus. He was around a while ago and he made a big impression on people. A big impression. So big that they started to, they did Christmas after him for a start. So you can thank Jesus for all your Christmas presents for a start. It was that, and it was, what else did they do for him? Easter eggs. It was something to do with chocolate. So Jesus was big on the old self-sacrifice. And the stories of Jesus, the whole concept, the whole shebang, finished up. I don't want to spoil the story for you if you're planning to read the book. Spoiler alert, if you're planning to read the book, I don't want to spoil the story. Ended up all sacrificed, literally, physically, on the cross. This isn't against terms of service, this is religion. This isn't rude graphic violence, it's religion. They nailed him up on the cross. Nailed him. Me hands! Me hands! It's not just your hands that are going to hurt in a minute, Jesus. It's going to be your feet as well. Jesus! That's where the expression comes from. Jesus! Like that. That's why you say it when things hurt. Ow! Jesus! Because me hands! It's all been done. And they have there's like a massive focus on how good he was, sacrificed himself for all our sins, and it's like this concept in society, this nobility. I'm not saying it's bad. You know, I believe in certain aspects of the self-sacrifice, not just of Jesus, but of our own. You know, sometimes I give up a little of what I've got to help someone else. I'm happy with that. But this excessive focus on it, and it's like I say, it's a social thing, isn't it? It's like normal in society to sort of say, no, that's a good thing, and then you don't, your voice doesn't come out. Caregivers should take regular caregivers, they're on it all the time. It's their 24-hour job, 48 hours a week. 48, 72. I can't add up all the days in the week. There's all the days in the week, you know, and you can't take a break from it, but neither should you, because you're the caregiver. I get it, you know, this is why they should take breaks, isn't it? You must sin, or is it? Yeah, I've got to do sins to make Jesus' sacrifice worth it. That's what I've got to do. He died for nothing. If I don't sin, he died for nothing. But if I do, he's already dead. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything. Don't start pointing the finger at me, Jesus. It's not your. How dare you? That's the point. There's too much self-sacrifice focus. It's raised up as so much of a virtue that we can't even discuss it these days without saying, actually, shouldn't it be a virtuous thing? Well, it's okay to say, hang on, I'm giving up too much of myself. I need some time for me. And if you don't, and if it's normal for you to not, you know, drawing these lines, boundaries, whatever, if it's normal for you to give up your time for the others every time, self-sacrifice, we've got it down here as a maladaptive schema, something that can affect the way we think about the world. So it's worth noting, it's normal and it's human. Number 14, approval seeking, recognition seeking. Excessive emphasis on gaining approval, recognition, or attention from other people, or fitting in at the expense of developing a secure and true sense of self. There's two kinds of different things there. They're both put in this one thing. We all know the people who are desperate for attention, don't we? They're all on the internet like me. We're all on the internet. But the other side of that, fitting in at the expense of developing a true sense of self. Approval seeking from the group. Recognition seeking from the group. Who are you expressing this recognition seeking behaviour to? One's sense of self-esteem is dependent primarily on the reactions of others, rather than one's own natural inclinations. Sometimes includes an overemphasis on status, appearance and social acceptance, money or achievement as a means of gaining approval, admiration or attention. This is not for power or control. This is just because for the admiration and attention. This is the other side of this. Before it was getting things status so you could control people. This is just people, could be us. We could just want to be seen as the top one, the good one, the main one. Look at me. I'm shy, but look at me. One's sense of self-esteem is dependent primarily on the reactions of others. If that statement rings true to you, if you think, yeah, of course it does. I mean, how else are you going to get your sense of self-esteem without other people to say, no, you're good? I like the way you've done your hair. If that feels like that's you and it's something that's deep down part of you, then that could be a maladaptation from when you were young. And it could be something that we can try and work through so that when things happen, the event, the schema, the emotions, approval seeking, recognition seeking, when things happen, we might not have that overarching direct to choose our behaviours, which can affect our emotions, which can affect our thoughts, which can affect our behaviours. We can maybe get a hold of that. But it's not a fault. It's not something that's wrong with you. It is. It's a maladaptive. It's a defective one. But it's not. It's because you're human. And that our sense of self-esteem is developed from other people telling us things. That's how it works. But we can also learn to hear those voices with or without, to hear our own voice, maybe. When I'm saying I hear those, I mean our own voice and what we feel is right. And to know in oneself that, yeah, actually, no, I've done a good job there. Or, I could pull my socks up a bit here. Maybe that's important as well. And finally, I need more boxes for the emotions in that logarithm. Finally, we've got our last 4 in this 18. There's quite a few, aren't there? And it's quite a chuff for me to read through them all. So, bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. Overvigilance and inhibition. Overvigilance and inhibition. Negativity and pessimism. A pervasive, lifelong focus on the negative aspects of life. Pain, death, loss, disappointment, conflict, guilt, resentment. All right, with the negatives. Unsolved problems, potential mistakes. All right, with the negatives. I know things that betrayal, things that could go wrong. All right, with the negatives. Algorithm. I say a logarithm. You know what I say? I say a logarithm because I think logarithm... a logarithm. Have you heard of a logarithm? Get me distracted. Look, logarithm. No, you haven't. What do you mean, no, you haven't? No, because we don't live in the 1800s anymore. But logarithms are how they used to do maths before calculators. Aren't they? And you have a table, a logarithm table. Look, I'm not talking shit. I'm not talking shit. Logarithmic table, they're just tables full of numbers. I don't know, do I? How am I supposed to know? Logarithm. And then that exists. That exists. Logarithms, yeah? Logarithms. Not a logarithm. Logarithm. That exists. Web of a browser. I proved it. Just chuffing proved it. Don't say I didn't. It even says it though. I spelled it wrong. Showing results for logarithm. Logarithm. So you put an A on the front and you've got a logarithm. And that's my brain then. That's me done. Obviously, there's no such thing as a logarithm. It's algorithm, isn't it? But a logarithm, algorithm, it says. No, I've got a logarithm in my brain from logarithm without an A. Because logarithm, that's a real thing. So, algorithm. Forget it. Just forget it. If you're going to start inventing new words all the time for new things all the time, and not, how am I supposed to keep up? Just forget it. Internet words. For your chuffing internet. It's the internet, artificial intelligence. We're going to have new words for everything all the time. How am I supposed to keep up? Look, overvigilance, negativity. We get that, don't we? Thinking all the time in a negative way. It seems like an obvious one. But these patients are characterised by chronic worry. That's us, isn't it? That's anxiety. Ching, 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 jackpot. I'm glad I watched all the way to the end of the video. Anxiety, isn't it? Chronic worries. Vigilance, meaning when you feel anxious or because you feel anxious, you're on edge. You're looking out for the problems. You've got your hand on your weapon and you don't just walk around with your head in the clouds. You're looking out for who's on the corner and, You know what I'm saying? Like, you're vigilant, complaining, moaning a lot, things aren't good enough, negativity, or indecision. Not how can you choose when everything's so rubbish? I don't want pickled onions, or lemons, or walnuts. Well, I don't know which one. I suppose I'll have the onions. Fine. I did a decision there. I shouldn't have done. I should have played that out for longer. Number 16. If that's you, though, if that's any of us, and it is all of us, you've got to accept all of us have got to have a bit of this, haven't we? A bit of negativity, a bit of pessimism. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be here on Mental Health Monday. So sometimes we've got to realise that our event, the way we think about it, and then how that plays out in our behaviour and our thoughts and our feelings at the real basic level can be affected by and I'm not saying it's normal, it's human, but it's a maladaptive schema. It's not correct. It's a bit of an imperfect prism. You know, the light's shining through, but we're only getting that dark light. We're only getting the dark light. We're not getting the full spectrum. We're seeing the negativity, aren't we? Sometimes we're humans. Of course, fair enough. Emotional inhibition. The excessive inhibition of spontaneous action, feeling or communication, usually to avoid disapproval by others, feelings of shame, or losing control of one's impulses. So easy these days, isn't it? That's so easy. Don't do things because everyone's looking. Everyone's looking. It matters what kind of jumper you've got on, what kind of trainers you've got on. Everyone's looking. Let alone revealing your emotions and, should they be correct or interesting or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going to have to reveal them in public. What if people don't? Well, yeah. The most common areas of inhibition involve an inhibition of anger and aggression. I'm not angry. You're the angry one. An inhibition of positive impulses. An inhibition of positive, like joy, hooray, affection, sexual excitement, and play. So not allowing yourself to do things you enjoy. That seems harsh, doesn't it? But we all do it, I suppose, don't we? We all sort of rein that in from time to time. Sorry, Vicar, you're going to have to play with my plonker on another occasion. It's time for me to rein in the. I'm getting towards the end of the episode. I shouldn't let it fall apart now. We're doing a good one. Number C. Difficulty expressing vulnerability or communicating freely about one's feelings, and that's quite a big one I've seen, because I remember I've seen some really big, strong chuffers over my time. Difficulty expressing vulnerability. Quite often it's a masculine, but ever more increasingly a female trait now as well, where the feelings that you are vulnerable or at risk or weak or whatever, they should take second seat to being confident and outward and strong, shouldn't they? So how do you express vulnerability? How do you express that word, that feeling? It's more than a feeling. I know how they wrote that song now. Don't they? It was like, tell me about vulnerability. That word with the pronunciation, with the letters. Tell me about that. And he said, well, oh God, come on, your headphones. He said, it's like a feeling, isn't it, really? His mate went, no. It's more than that. And the guitarist went, hang on. Oh, it's all coming together. Okay, so, but difficulty expressing yourself. That sounds like all of us, doesn't it? It does. I think that's fair enough. Emotional inhibition these days is quite common, isn't it? It's quite common because we've come from a sort of Victorian age of children should be seen and not heard, and we're only just getting into an age where people should actually voice their feelings on basic stuff like depression. Only just getting there, really. So that's quite common. And if it is amongst all of us, we're going to find a way to deal with it. Once we've done schema, which is this week, we've done it quite a lot. Give it time to gestate. Give it time for you to think about it over the week. Maybe come back to some of these ideas and say, actually, maybe I didn't realise I had that emotional inhibition until I sat down and thought about it. But, and then we'll come and deal with it. We'll deal with it. So don't worry. Number 17, unrelenting standards, hypercriticalness. The underlying belief that one must strive to meet very high internalised standards. That's not others now. Now this is gone from others to being part of you. They've told it you enough, or you've watched enough stuff and you've decided you have to be the absolute top best of behaviour and performance, and usually to avoid criticism, so it does involve others as well. Typically, it results in feelings of pressure or difficulty slowing down, not being able to stop working, not being able to put that down. And in hypercriticalness, they love the words, towards oneself and others. Like, you just think all the time you're picking flies with yourself, with others. Nothing's ever good enough. It must involve significant impairment in pleasure, relaxation, health, self-esteem, sense of accomplishment, or satisfying relationships. There's quite a wide range. But we're saying you find it hard to be happy. You find it hard to relax. Your health is taking a bit of a knock. And the way you feel about yourself takes a bit of a knock, because you're always trying to live up to this internalized thing, this whatever it is. It might be your perceptions of your parents. It might be your perceptions of people in society, or whatever. Where you put it inside yourself now. It's part of you, how you feel you should be. You're not quite there. So you have to work harder and work harder. And that's good. Remember, this life, they're always telling you, you've got to work hard. You've got to work hard. Well, you get the harshest criticisms from those most envious of you. That's interesting. People that hate me love me. Unrelenting standards typically present as perfectionism, inordinate attention to detail, poring over all the little details, or an underestimation of how good one's own performance is relative to the norm. That's hard, because you don't know that you're not good at... Like, if you're unable to evaluate your own performance, you think you're not good enough. And you're worried about not being good enough, and that's the reason you can't evaluate your own performance. So you're never going to get... This is why it's so important to be able to step outside, isn't it? And try and get behind ourselves in a way. To write a few of these things down on our little pieces of paper. And think about how we feel. And think. Rigid rules and shoulds. The shoulds. They've written it in quotes. Shoulds. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be better than that. I should have achieved this by now. I should have this by now. I should. In many areas of life, including unrealistically high moral, ethical, cultural, or religious precepts. I'm I'm a moral person. I'm a vegan, so I shouldn't have eaten that milk chocolate. Oh no, bad vegan. I'm terrible. It was just an M&M. But it's only one M&M. But I'm a bad vegan now. Unrealistic. It's unrealistic to expect someone to not eat an M&M when they find it behind the fridge, isn't it? Everyone who finds M&Ms behind the fridge eats them, don't they? You know what I'm saying, though? You know what I'm saying? Unrealistic goals, unrealistic targets. Everyone wants to be perfect. None of us are. So beating yourself up over not being perfect, having really strict high targets and rules, and then saying, I should, and not being happy because you don't. Unrelenting standards. Hypercriticalness. And finally, on our wonderful list of maladaptive schemas that have come from maybe issues in our childhood, maybe. It's not important where they come from right now. The important thing is we start to recognise them, we have a think about them, and then we come back with means and ideas and ways to think about how we think. Schema, we're giving it a name, we're calling it this thing, this prism, this schema. We're going to start to be part of our own schema. We're going to affect that. We're going to get control. But not in a bad way. Not in a hypercritical, hyper-controlling, subjugative way. In a good way. Number 18, punitiveness. And this is interesting. The belief that people should be harshly punished for making mistakes. Now that doesn't say you. That says people. The belief that people should be harshly punished for making mistakes. Shouldn't they? Well, don't everyone make mistakes? It involves the tendency to be angry, intolerant, punitive, and impatient with those people. Can you not just hurry up? You're not doing it properly. Don't give them any. They didn't pull their weight. Why should they get some? Why should they get some? Why should they have that? Don't let them in. Don't let them in. They're not doing... I'm not satisfied. They've come up to my standards. They're not doing things the way I want them to do it. Don't you... in fact, let's punish them. Let's make it worse for them. Get them over there. Put them in the thing. Including oneself, though. This includes yourself. This does include yourself. Angry, intolerant, and punitive. And this is where maybe we get into self-harm. You know, we do, depression is like rage turned inwards, and we do sometimes feel that extreme pressure and stress, and we turn it on ourselves, don't we? Self-harm comes from this. Not meeting one's expectations or standards, not feeling good enough. It usually includes difficulty forgiving mistakes in oneself or others. That was a bit of a jazzy one from the Stardew Valley then, wasn't it? Can we just go back to the... Thanks for your jazzy music at the wrong time. It usually includes difficulty forgiving mistakes in oneself or others. That's interesting because it's about the past. A lot of this has been about thinking about things the way we feel, but thinking about how we're going to move forward, or knowing that we're going to move forward once we've decided what it is we want to move forward from. A mistake in the past that we can't let go, whether someone did it to us or we did it or other people haven't measured up. Forgiving mistakes in the past, not being able to, is part of punitiveness. It's part of wanting to punish the world or others for not being good enough. And it comes from a tendency that you're angry, maybe because you were punished for things yourself. Maybe because people said to you that that's not good enough. It's a reluctance to consider extenuating circumstances. Don't let people off the hook. Don't let them off the hook. I don't care that you went through this and you went through that. I don't care that it's not you deserve to be punished. Don't care about the extenuating circumstances. We're not even going to consider them. Allowing for human imperfection or empathise with feelings. So that's important as well. And we all are a bit like this, let's be fair. We've all been punished in our lives for making mistakes. We've all done something by accident, and some adult or teacher or whatever has said, oh, no, and you thought, oh, that's not fair. I didn't mean to. You know, we've all at least had that, haven't we? Maybe some people haven't. They're not here listening to this. We've all been through that. If we then pass that on and we start putting these armor plates on these ideas, you should be punished for this. It's your fault that you did that. You're naughty for it. So it's time to, bring out the whip. It stops us from empathizing with the feelings. We're not thinking about, were you sad? Were you happy? I felt sad when they told me, and now I feel we're not into that conversation. We're somewhere else. We're like, how can we make it bad for them? We're in that frame of mind, aren't we? If you find yourself feeling that people should be punished for making mistakes, and it's a weird one, because isn't that what they should be? Shouldn't we be punishing people for making mistakes? Shouldn't we be angry and putting the people on death row? This is a really cool way to think about cool way to think about this. Cool way to think about this. On death row, there are people who are on death row, yeah? And we know they've done a murder, bad murder, they should go on death row. Absolutely. I'm not saying bad crimes are not. I'm not. I'm saying death row, you're on there because you did the murder. They know you did the murder, we've got all the evidence, whatever. You're a bad murderer. I'm not saying that's not bad, yeah? But let's say that's the case, yeah? Someone's done that. You feel really angry at them because they murdered your friend, whatever. Then they've gone out and they've murdered 10 more people. They're a serial killer now. Even worse, aren't they? They're a bad murderer times 10 now. So we should kill them 10 times. Can't do that, can we? I mean, you got a life sentence for you get. Don't worry about this in chat. You don't have to answer these. These are going to be rhetorical questions, these ones. You get a life sentence for doing the bad murder, yeah? Get a life sentence. And then we find out halfway through your life sentence you did more bad murders. Well, you're never getting out now. Well, you're not allowed to get out because you've got a life sentence. We're going to give you 2. We're going to give you 10. 10 life sentences. It doesn't make up for the people that died. The people that died, if you killed one person, you get 1 life sentence. You get 1, you're on death row. And then they find out you killed 10. They can't punish you for those people that died 10 times over. If you're on death row and you get killed once. We don't, as the rest of other people, have the power. The rest of us other people, just normal people, us, we don't have the power to affect the fair. I'm not saying what is fair. I'm not saying that they should die. I'm not saying that we should kill people because they killed people. I'm not the judge, okay? Whatever your ideas are, your ideas, fine. I'm not arguing with you. What I'm saying is, whatever your ideas are, we can't deal that Like, we're not capable of dealing the justice. We can't deal the justice. If someone stole something from me, they might be able to give it back. But, the fact that they took it and I felt bad and whatever, I don't think they can give everything back, can they? Feelings, you can't reverse time. The justice, as much as we try, as much as we've got systems and laws and judges and all that, if someone harms you, and you feel to harm them back, if someone hits my face, I've got a hurty face. Me punching them doesn't stop my face from being hurty. My face is still hurty. So there's no justice, really. I've just enacted the same violence on them that they enacted on me. Equal now, aren't we? We're evens. No. Before I didn't have a hurty face, now I've got one. Before you didn't have a hurty face, now you've got one. So we're equal, but in a worse state. If I didn't punch you, you don't have a hurty face. I've got a hurty face. We're better off as a group. Fewer hurty faces. That was the goal. I don't want my face to be hurty. So dishing out hurty faces isn't making the world better and fewer hurty faces, is it? It's going against what I wanted. I want no hurty faces. So I'm not capable. It doesn't matter what it is, really. Like, really, this is philosophy and all that. But, we can't kill people 10 times over for their bad 10 murders. So even if I want to be punitive, even if I want to have that inbuilt in my society and I want to be cracking the whip and wielding the hammer, we're going over now to talk about cutting off hands in Islamic countries. It's not to do with Islamic, although it is part of it. In other countries, let's just say other countries. We're talking about cutting off hands. You can cut the hands off the thieves, but you can't give back the items they stole in every instance, can you? So, yeah, 2 wrongs don't make a right. That's a better way of saying it. But you can't be punitive. But if you feel instinctively in yourself, we can't enact the justice, but if you feel instinctively in yourself, having heard me say that I'm completely wrong, because we should be, these bad rapers and chuffing murderers, that we should cut their heads off. These chuffing idiots that are in front of me in the line, shouldn't be allowed to use the cash machine because they don't know their PIN number. Get out. Like, if you're angry at people and you think it's time to dish out some justice, that's what we've got on our... It's another one on our worksheet. Schema. Maladaptive schema. Spotted it. And it's natural. And it's human. And it's in the films. And it's what Clint Eastwood did when they, when they stole his kids on the film and he went off and hunted them down. And, it's natural and it's human. And it's almost noble in a way, isn't it? To be punitive. To harshly punish other people for making mistakes. Well, it wasn't a mistake. They did it deliberately. They're a bad person. What led to them being a bad person? Were there any extenuating circumstances? I don't know. I'm not even going to listen to this. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? So that's been Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Centre, Silicon Valley, schemas in schema therapy. We're going to talk about how to deal with our schemas in the future. The most important thing, and I take your point about the criminal justice system. Absolutely. It's important to have punitive... how else are we going to... I'm not here to fix the criminal justice system. I'm just saying that it's not pure, it doesn't... Whilst it relies on that punitiveness and not rehabilitation, it can't actually achieve it in many ways. It can in other ways. You can actually stop people from... You can put them in prison, so that's a punishment. So, yeah, you've punished them. Well done. But, it didn't bring back the thing that they took, did it? So, anyway, look. It's not the only piece of paper. It goes on. There's more pieces of paper. So I'm not just going to leave you in the air and, up in the air. We will be dealing with these things. But the most important thing to remember and to realise is that these are just thoughts and feelings in our head, in our hearts. And they are ways that we see the world. They're ideas. And ideas can be... dealt with. We can think. We can't necessarily deal with the murderers, but we can deal with the ideas in our heads. We can think differently. And remember, right at the start of the episode, I said about grounding. We can think about grounding ourselves so we don't have to think about these things sometimes. So that sometimes we're just thinking about what this tastes like and really being in the moment and not letting our thoughts run away with us into all these things. So I don't want you to worry. I don't want you to feel bad, but over the next week, if you think about these things and you think, oh, that's an example of me being enmeshed, or that's an example of me mistrusting people, Maybe it's worth realising that we could all have a little bit of a schema to deal with, and other people could too. We're going to work on it in the future. That's what we're here for. Mental Health Monday, every Monday, 8 p.m. GMT. Now I need to go and walk the dog. Scotty Hotty's going to walk the dog. We're going to get capital K in. How am I going to remember two people with K names? Kevlar's going to be in. Capital K lives in America, so it's much, much harder to get him in this room. But Kevlar does not live in America, and we're going to get him in to sit in here and talk about mental health and stuff. Whatever he wants to talk about, really. Well, not whatever he wants to talk about, because if he wants to talk about Barbie dolls, we're not doing an episode on Barbie dolls. Not unless he really, really... I mean, if he really likes Barbie dolls, if he's got his favourite ones, then I suppose we can. I'm not averse to anything, really, but I didn't know I was going to be streaming Barbie dolls. He's not into them. He's never mentioned them. If he was, it'd just be a secret. And what we've seen today is there's no problem with that. So you be good, my little puckus. He's with you now. He likes Barbie. There you go. Right. There you go. So that's confirmed. The mental health of Barbie. Barbie versus mental health. We can literally cut her head open and see what's inside. That's bad. Anyway, you be good, my little puckus. You call you Ken. Kenlar. We're gonna light here. I've got to go and walk the dog. You've got to be good, and if you can't be good, then you're naughty.